He died. Gaspard.
Pull this guy out.
He died. This poor guy died.
Mogart? Oh, he was the worst part of the show. Thank God he died.
Oh my god.
Weakest episode, worst part of the show.
Nah, I feel bad because he was gonna be Midnight Man or something. So that would have been cool, whatever that is.
Couldn't happen to a better looking guy.
He was like skiing in the Alps or something like that.
That was
have
his
no
mistake.
idea.
First mistake right there was ski.
Oh my god.
We're keeping all this in the phone. Hey everybody, and welcome to Twin Talk, a video discussion show where twin brothers Chris and Kevin drink and draw while talking about comic books, movies, and all things pop culture. We are your hosts, Chris Hart,
Kevin Hart.
and today we're talking about the series review of Moon Knight.
It's supposed to be a moon. Stick around to the end of the episode, see how our drawing of Moon
Oh,
Knight. Stick around to the end of the episode, see how our drawing of Moon Knight came out. If you did it again, I would have lost. Stick around to the end of the episode, see our drawing. Vodka said it. Stick around to the end of the episode, see how our drawing of Moon Knight came out. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel for more content.
So I get it. The people have been asking. They want to know where I've been, right? Everybody's been asking about me. Thankfully, I'm enough man for everybody. There's enough to pass around.
It's a big boy.
I'm back. Yeah, a lot of boy, a lot of man. The reason I haven't been doing the weekly reactions with you is because I don't like to judge a story without seeing how it comes to fruition, right? Like, I like to judge a whole story. Doing the week-by-week reactions is your thing. I love that you do it. I can't do it because watching things week by week and reviewing them, I forget what happened the week before. So now we're here doing the Moon Knight full season review or series review. There's no plans for a season 2, which I think is nonsense because the show...
Sense or nonsense?
The show literally ends with the introduction to a new identity.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, how are you not going to do a season 2?
Give it 7 more days, we'll get it.
Yeah,
we'll get
but
it
I am excited to see where this character goes in the future of the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry, you got me here chasing clout doing the weekly reactions. If you want to check those out, we have an entire playlist dedicated to Moon Knight reactions and much more. Marvel, DC, all the good stuff. Subscribe to the channel for more. What did you think about the series as a whole?
I know you like it more than me. A lot of people were saying that it was like one of the best MCU Disney Plus shows, which I want to agree with, but I don't because it is an entertaining show. It's nothing like what I anticipated because I don't know much about Moon Knight as a character.
New Knight.
New Knight. Totally different show. Dude just eats brunch. But I don't know much about Moon Knight as a character. All I knew going into it was that he had a multiple personality disorder and that he was kind of like Batman, but in a white cowl, right?
An Egyptian, all that stuff.
With the Egyptian god and all this stuff. So I was like, all right, like it was nice to not know. That's the thing about this new phase of like MCU stuff.
We're getting introduced to
new
blood.
things.
Yeah, fresh blood.
Which sometimes like is the killer and the savior of it too, because we want to see that familiar faces of Cap, Iron Man, and Thor.
Yeah.
But it is nice to expand the universe and learn about these new characters that aren't household names yet.
I'd say this is definitely on the higher aspect of my list of the Marvel television shows.
Very well made.
Very well made. Nothing's been like outstanding, but this one was definitely higher up. And
Yeah.
I did like the fact
Good
that
direction.
this was a new character that I knew nothing about, and I'm actually like so intrigued, so like captivated by the costume, which I hate in the comics.
love
This
the costume.
costume by, I gotta get her name again, Megan Kasperlich. She designed the Dark Knight Rises suits,
Really?
assisted on Amazing Spider-Man 2. These costumes were so clean. Probably one of my favorite aspects of the show, next to Ethan Hawke, just stealing the show. Stealing the
So
show as
good,
Arthur
so
Harrow.
good.
We'll get into that. But these suits, man, the costume design, flawless.
Which costume do you like better?
I like the
Steve or
clean.
Mark's?
I like Stevens. I like that clean suit. That thing is so fresh. The
It is-
Moon Knight
it is
one is
pretty good
badass, but like that's so.
Well, they're
unique.
both technically a Moon Knight.
They're both
Just
yeah.
different variations of his
But that
identities, yeah.
suit one is just so unique from like a superhero aspect. The other one's
Yeah.
kind of like checks all the boxes like
of a
superheroes.
vigilante.
Yeah, exactly. So the clean one is oh my god.
I just thought it was cool how we got into all the different personalities and that he had a different costume as the second identity. Because it felt very like indie comic almost.
did, yeah.
Where it's like he's talking British, he's got a tux, a white tux with the mask. He looked so cool, and then you got the badass vigilante of like Mark and Moon Knight in that aspect, where he's like action hero, a vigilante. I liked all of that,
That dichotomy, the
Yeah,
dual
it was
identity
nice.
the most fun aspect. Yeah.
and knowing what little I do about the character, I did know that there was a third or fourth personality coming. So I was expecting that, and we don't get that until the finale, obviously, with the third, Jake Lockley. which I thought was great. I feel like the end credits.
Is he like the actual anti-hero vigilante, like the almost like evil side personality?
I feel like that post-credit scene saved the entire show for me.
Really?
Because I loved episodes 1 and 2. I thought they were very well made. It reminded me a lot of like The Mummy, these different action adventure films and stuff. And I was digging it. I was liking where they were going those first two. Episode 3 was trash. Episode 4, and then like from there on, it did pick back up to where they were going for me in episodes 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. It just
episode 4 was the standout for me, and then the climax was cool.
5 was the standout to me, where he's in the asylum, and it reminded me a lot of the show on FX that I know that you and I both loved, Legion,
yeah,
which was like a character study about this like telekinetic mutant from Professor X's son. It was awesome. Like you didn't know what was real, what wasn't real, and I still feel that way about this show by the end because
yes, trippy.
What I understood about the show was it was this whole action adventure in Egypt, with this guy Arthur Harrow and Mark and Steven like come into their balance of like their identities, and then we had that asylum episode which threw me off. I was like, I would love if this is all just in his head.
If that would have been so bold.
I said to you,
if that was the reality.
Yeah. Which I think it is kind of is.
Yeah.
Like because
I don't know
because at the end, the finale episode we see, which was bonkers by the way, Gods and Monsters is the title finale. I did not expect that to be like a giant kaiju episode, which was cool. It did look cool. I thought we were talking before. I thought the build up to that one god, Ammit, the one that Arthur Harrow's trying to release this whole time. Mm-hmm. I was
the gator.
I was expecting such like a badass, like intimidating entity.
Yeah.
And then instead we get like the TikTok croc with like, some band-aids on her head, and I was just like, ah. But I thought Khonshu's design was pretty sweet.
Very cool. Yeah.
I thought them fighting in like the landscape, like
with the pyramids in the back. Yeah.
With like it felt like a Godzilla movie.
It was
honestly.
sick, like a giant monster.
It was awesome.
Kaiju. Yeah. Again, just going back to, I think the dual personality was like 90% of the fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like that whole M. Night Shyamalan split, FX's Legion, that is like half the fun is just this, banter between these different personalities in the same body. So bizarre,
interesting,
so intriguing, and like the whole touching on mental illness and all that. I really appreciate that. So that's really cool. Which character do you prefer, by the way, Steven or Mark? I like Steven.
I like Mark more.
Yeah,
he just gets the job done.
He gets the job done.
He gets in there. Like Steven was annoying me for the first 2 episodes. We even talked about this off camera. Mm-hmm. I was like, this guy is just so soft.
Bumbling.
Yeah, he's a bumbling buffoon. He's like, oh, later gators or whatever, later skaters or whatever the hell he's saying. He's like, hello, mum, and like all these different things, and like. And then he couldn't do anything right, and then Mark had to come in and be the badass and save the day. So I was like, I wanted more of Mark from the first 2 episodes because we focused so heavily on Steven.
I thought Steven was more entertaining, like because we've seen Mark a million times with like Bourne Ultimatum, James Bond, all these different things.
But I'm a sucker for like your typical badass action hero.
God, yeah.
And then like we start off with Steven, and then
I felt bad for Steven.
Me too, I did too, and I just feel like we learned so much more about Mark in episodes 4 and 5.
Well, he's like the first identity.
He's the real person. Yeah. From what I understand, and I thought that was really interesting what they did with the character about the trauma and him creating this other identity because of the abuse of his mother and like the loss of his brother, which he felt was his fault. And then he took on the persona of like that British action hero, who was basically like they're like the UK's version of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And like they watched the movies with his brother. I thought that was great.
I just felt so bad that he was like taking the brunt of his burdens with like the death of his mom.
It was really tragic.
The beatings of his mom, all this childhood trauma, the death of his brother,
and then the death of his mother.
He's calling his mom. The mom's not even on the phone.
She's dead.
So it was like a lot of emotion too in the season. Between the acting, I can't say this enough. Oscar Isaac's performance, Layla's performance too. She was really surprising. Really surprising. I liked her character.
Especially when the hippo god takes over.
Yeah. I liked her like Wonder Woman 84 armor, level up. I'm excited to see more of her. Whatever is the reality, I have no idea. But I'm just so intrigued. I really like the climax. I know you didn't like it as much, but the climax I thought was a really good payoff of like what could be in his head, what might have happened in Egypt. I have no idea. But I just thought that was all so like well directed between the fighting back and forth with like them tag teaming each other.
That was sick.
With the different suits and them working together with Layla. All of that was really working for me. The whole Egyptian thing is a nice change of pace too, from like New York, from these different like big cities that are getting destroyed.
Nice expansion of the MCU, definitely.
And really no tie-ins at all to the bigger MCU. So this was kind of like a nice self-contained story that opens up a lot of more questions than answers, and it's just really intriguing. I really enjoyed this.
I get that too. Like you said, like it does have some. I want to know more. I am interested in whatever the future of the character is, whether he's going to be in a movie or a second season or whatever. And like you said about
I would love to see him like tag team with the Avengers and see that costume again live action with these
The
bigger
two of them.
heroes.
Yeah,
He would be one of my favorites, you know.
I think that would be really interesting to see him in a big budget film, switching back and forth between Mark and Steven. That'd be really cool. But I heard that they deleted an Eternals cameo, which thank God, because we hated the
No
Eternals.
one cares.
But it would make sense
It
that
would, yeah.
they would.
Ancient.
But at the same time, too, like I feel like that doesn't help with the whole what is real, what isn't real angle of it all.
Yeah.
Which I think is smart that they cut that out
The
because
cliffhanger of the story. Yeah.
because I genuinely don't know what was real and what wasn't real. Like they could have had a giant like Egyptian god fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they could just be doing this all in their heads because they were both. Because what I noticed, my take of the whole show is Arthur Harrow.
great character.
Is in the he was great.
Easily top 5 villains of the MCU.
And he's the best part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he is in the mental asylum we see at the end, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like him and Mark are both in the asylum because they've both been possessed by Khonshu, and that's what happens to them.
the repercussions,
And
like
then
their
yes,
split
yeah,
identities.
and then like now that Mark and Steven gave up Khonshu, he saw the advantage of taking on the third personality, and then he killed Arthur Harrow. So now he's just like he's using Mark and Steven with Jake Longley's.
You're talking about Khonshu?
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, Khonshu's
kind of the villain, honestly.
kind of
yeah.
a d-bag.
Yeah,
like
like a very selfish guy.
no wonder why he was like, you know, banned to like the 1 out of 9 collectible tour.
Yeah.
He was
They were like, you
banned
have
by
been
the
a
gods.
bad god. We're gonna put you in a 1/6 hot toy
Scale.
Yeah.
But Arthur Harrow, let's talk about him, man. Ethan Hawke
Standout.
crushes this performance. The glass chanclas, which was his idea.
His idea, yeah.
Just the soft spoken. Like that's how I'm gonna start talking to
Can I
people.
speak to Mark, please?
Yeah, can I speak? He's mad proper. Like, just everything about it, and everything that like worked as his like villainous plot into like what was real, was not real. I thought was just genius. Between like Mark not being able to sleep with the ankle, you know, restraints.
Yeah.
It was his wheelchair, not his bed. The drawings of the bird was actually Khonshu, and all this, like the reflection of him looking in the mirror every day. Layla's the nurse. Like, all this stuff was just brilliant direction.
I feel like that's
brilliant
what-
little
I
details.
feel like that's what it actually is.
And I hope it is, because that would be so bold, so unique, and I kind of would love to see that different iteration of the MCU instead of like this big grandiose battles, you know?
That's how I felt too. I was a little disappointed by the finale because I felt like, much like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and all these other shows, and WandaVision especially, it just became a big Marvel battle at the end. And I was like,
Yeah.
come on, man, like let's do a character study where
A little
it
bit
is
smaller scale.
Yeah, where it is literally just a guy in a mental asylum, like having these ideas of being a vigilante possessed by an Egyptian god. Like that would be.
And he
so
can't
sick.
trust anyone. He
Yeah.
thinks he's a hero.
And then he goes out on
Yeah.
his own, and becomes a vigilante. I thought that'd be sick.
And he's like he thinks everyone else is the enemy, but he's actually kind of the enemy.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That'd be brilliant.
Like I said, that post-credit scene really saved the show for me because it went from being just a typical Marvel formula show to being like a character study with like a lot of different like details that you have to almost watch it again to even pick up on some of these things.
Yeah, it was actually very well done. Underappreciated, I feel. Like, I think this should be talked about more. It's definitely on the higher list of the MCU television shows. Although I did understand that this is going to be like vigilante, anti-hero. Everyone was like, oh, this is going to be the most brutal MCU television show. I thought they were smart and a little bit soft at the same
Yeah.
time. Like, I kind of wanted to see more of like Daredevil, Punisher level
Definitely.
violence and realistic stakes. This was more like all ages, a family friendly, adult toned at moments, but like that implied violence with like the different segues and the coming in and out of consciousness between the
And then there's
personalities.
just like blood around him.
And there's
stuff.
just blood. Like it was
That's cool,
a lot
yeah.
of deaths off screen.
Which is fine because
Which is
it
fine,
was
but-
well directed.
You understood like the stakes, but like a lot of the action I kind of wanted to see.
Let's talk about the unforgivable CGI in episode 1.
Yeah, it was like they didn't put a lot of money into this.
Yeah,
it
I
seems.
feel like half this budget probably went to Multiverse of Madness because that cupcake truck. Oh my god! Like I saw better CGI in X-Men Origins Wolverine than this. I couldn't believe that Marvel.
years ago.
I couldn't believe it.
Over
I
12
couldn't
years ago.
believe that Marvel okayed that. Even Olivia, my wife, was like, that looks terrible.
A
I was like,
lot
"That
of the
looks
shots,
bad." Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the shots like it almost looks like unfinished work, but it gets the job done enough.
It gets the
you
job done, but like again, like we love Daredevil, right? Why not just put Oscar Isaac in a practical suit? Like obviously there needs to be CGI for certain moments when he's flying,
Yeah.
he's doing these things. But for the most part, I felt like they really relied heavily on CGI when he's in a suit, which it would just be fun if he was just standing there in costume. Like I don't know. And to add to what you were just saying, it was very Disney-fied, right? Everybody's like,
Yes.
oh, it's gonna be brutal. This is gonna be the most badass character we've seen in a long time.
The most like gory, like grotesque thing was that scary ass creature in episode 4, which is the highlight for me.
Which one?
That was like
Oh yeah,
That
it
thing
was like
was
a mummy thing. Yeah,
terrifying.
that's a great scene. Yeah, actually, let's get into favorite scenes because I feel like that might be my favorite scene. Is when they're in that tomb and like this like mummy thing or whatever is like just destroying this guy, and then they're trying to get around it. It was very suspenseful, and then they go into that cave where it's still reaching in to grab them.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt like that was a really nice set piece, and then like
Well
when-
directed,
Once
everything.
Layla goes, I was like, "Get this thing the hell off you!" And she goes, and then she flips over the cliff. I was like, "Ah!"
a lot of suspense.
So
yeah.
that was a very well made scene, very action adventure. Like I said, it reminded me a lot of The Mummy or National Treasure, like these different
Tomb Raider,
early 2000s action
Scooby Doo.
movies. Yeah. What's your favorite scene in this thing?
My favorite scene, I have to say, I really enjoyed the climax. I really liked them duking it out with Arthur Harrow. The tag team back and forth between the two different suits and personalities was really sick. But I think my favorite scene, like as in general, was that reveal of like Tomb Buster, the adult DVD
yes.
rental,
Yeah.
and hit all these little things coming out. Like, wait,
That was sick.
that's his manager from the Egyptian store. That's the guy that's a statue. The drawing of Khonshu, like the reflection, all that. I was like, wait. Is it like that was like almost like a big like M. Night Shyamalan
That
type
made, that made me
reveal.
sit up and be like, "Oh, is this all in his head?"
Yeah, that was sick. What would you score the series as a whole?
As far as like a 1 to 10, or like as far as the other shows,
1 to 10.
1 to 10.
in itself. Yeah, don't compare it to anything.
I'd probably say because it's very well made. It was entertaining enough, but at the same time, like it didn't blow me away. Like to me, Netflix's Daredevil and Punishers are like 10s.
Yeah.
So this is gonna fall around like I would give it a 7.5 because it
yeah.
was good. It was solid, good
Yeah.
action, good concepts, but the execution and like the overall tone of it wasn't what I wanted from a Moon Knight show.
I'll agree with that. I liked it a little bit more, so I'm gonna give it an 8. I really liked the whole dual personality. Really liked the costumes. It was unbelievable. The set pieces of an Egyptian, a lot of Mummy Returns, all this vibes.
Yeah.
It was unique. I really enjoyed it for a character and a property that I know nothing about. I'm like on board and I want more of it. So 8 out of 10 for me.
As far as the Marvel Disney Plus shows, where would you put this?
I'm gonna have to say that Loki's number 1. This is
Same, same.
Hawkeye's number 2. This
I
is,
really enjoyed Hawkeye.
Hawkeye was really good. Number 3 is this. 4 is WandaVision. 4 is What If, then WandaVision, and then last Falcon. I could not stand Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It came out at a weird time in America, which our little brother said dated it immediately. Like you go back and watch it now, you're just like, I don't want to watch it because it reminds me of that really bad time.
Really bad time in
in our
America.
country. And I was like, Although that had a lot of cool concepts. But I'd agree with you. I feel like it's like mid to high of the TV shows. Again, Loki is still my number 1 as far as the shows that have come out so far.
What did you guys think about Moon Knight? Let us know in the comments below. Anyways, that about wraps up today's episode of Twin Talk. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below to join the discussion, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you next time. Peace!